a psychopathic killer that plans to enact his revenge. A circus performer turned serial killer, now inhabiting a Virtual Boy system in hopes to kill the person who solved his crime. Mr. Virtual was created by Stupendous Snart and is co-owned by Pancake PK and Bonsai Kill Beach. I've been meaning to talk about this guy for a while, and by the request of you guys, it seems you guys wanted me to as well. As per usual, I'll be explaining his lore and talking about what he's been a part of. Without further ado, let's jump into this crazed lunatic. Before becoming what we all know him to be today, Mr. Virtual was a circus performer and contortionist, going under the name of V. He lived a life of torment, filled with struggles. Whether it be being made fun of or money issues, it's not specified, but whatever the reason, it caused him to snap. After mentally breaking, V would burn down the circus he performed at. And while most people would be mortified hearing the screams and seeing the people he knew burn and yell in agony, it instead awakened something sinister within him. For it was because of this moment he felt true euphoria, and he would chase this feeling for the rest of his life. V would become a serial killer under the name of V. Yeah, his alias doesn't really change, which interesting decision. To take this obsession with a letter a step further, the victims were found having a large V carved into their chest. These murders would involve them being mutilated in different ways and would be scattered about in undisclosed locations. His killings would eventually catch the eye of a Detective Thomas Anderson, who took action in hunting down the psychopath. It would take him months to find the killer, but on May 13th, 1995, Anderson had found the perpetrator. The detective chased V through a Nintendo E3 that was being held, where V would be shot dead, collapsing in a Nintendo stall. And wouldn't you know it, it happened to be where they were showcasing the latest Virtual Boy system. I think we can guess what's going to happen here, and yes, viewer, you're correct. V's soul would tether itself to the system in death, transforming him into the lovable yet ugly creature we know him to be. But funny enough, the story doesn't completely end there. Months after his death, V takes the name Mr. V, a tall monster who renounced his previous life to attain a new goal: kill Detective Anderson. Though he wasn't made aware of his abilities until an unsuspecting Samantha Heathers had played his specific system, allowing V to follow her much like he did with his other victims. Doing this would lead him to his old ways. Samantha began to experience night terrors and strange paranoia. She would see things, objects would move on their own, and after a while, her mental fortitude shattered. This would allow Mr. V to replace her soul and possess her. The serial killer could feel again and had returned to the physical plane. Though he wouldn't be able to keep the body for long, as the vessel began to rot away after a few days, he was forced to return to the Virtual Boy where his soul was tethered. And while he wasn't closer to his ultimate goal, he had newfound knowledge on how to torment the detective, and he wouldn't stop until he got what he wanted. And that is the story of Mr. Virtual, according to what's available on the wiki. Mr. V will be the main antagonist of a series called Curse of the Crimson Phantom, where his story will likely continue. Before moving on to games he's been a part of, here's some trivia I thought was interesting. His earlier life, he had a little pet rat named Scamper. I wonder how he would react if he saw his pet rat again, like the way that he is now. A bit of an odd detail, but I mean, rats do make for pretty great pets, so. Oh, and one thing in particular did catch my eye, aside from the pet rat named Scamper. Apparently, V is the only paranormal force in his universe. So that means no other ghosts or hauntings, just V. Man, Anderson, you really messed up going after this guy. I mean, dude was so mad you killed him, he invented the afterlife just to spite you specifically. That's gotta suck. Another interesting fact is that he inspired many creepypastas in his world and universe, such as Slenderman, Jeff the Killer, and Eyeless Jack, which makes sense considering he was the only confirmed spirit in the world. And while I'm talking about it, I figured I'm going to say this here. For all of you wondering if I will talk about creepypastas in the future, the answer is yeah, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe or whatever. Anyway, there's a semi-canon comic called The Night I Met the Devil, and it shows him tormenting a poor soul. This shows just how effective his hauntings are, and the art by Freya the Killer is fantastic. I really recommend you guys check it out. And the last bit of trivia that I want to bring up is that Mr. Virtual will sometimes kidnap lost children and train them to be replica V killers. I find that to be pretty interesting because it could be effective. I'm not sure if this is before death or after death, but if it's after death, he could kind of manipulate them to be like him or break them mentally with his newfound paranoia abilities from the Virtual Boy because, you know, kids would eventually at some point find the Virtual Boy, play it, and he would be able to spread his legacy and word that way. So, it really messed up. Now on to some media and games Mr. Virtual has been a part of. And wouldn't you know it, Killer Chase 2 makes another appearance, though he's not his own killer. Instead, he's a skin for MX. But the design here is well done, and it's just as intimidating having this lanky psychopath yell at you as you run for your life. Though, this next inclusion is something you guys will likely know him from. From Mario's Madness, we have one of the most well-known songs out there, Paranoia. Here we see Mr. Virtual being put on display in a really unique way. Hey, that rhymed. Like in the game. Like in Friday Night Funkin', they rhyme. Okay, yeah, so I'll just see myself out. The window moves around and a bunch of other stuff. This song was well received in the community. Boyfriend is rapping, as he normally does. Mr. Virtual decides to give him a present. This being a Mr. Virtual made girlfriend. I mean, it's a tragic reveal, and Boyfriend looks absolutely horrified. But man, this breakdown is really good. Dude has some insane vocals. And he mimics girlfriend's voice to a T. Like really, it's a good breakdown. And I'm not talking about Boyfriend. I don't want him to break down. I was talking about this. You know what I mean. It also goes over your desktop, and this honestly blew my mind the first time I saw this. But I think I already gushed about this in my Mario's Madness video, so I can't say too much about it. I just know that the visuals in the song were pretty good. Mr. Virtual also makes an appearance in a canceled build of Mario FNF port. This mod combines a bunch of horror Marios together in one mod, and dear God, V looks terrifying in this. While I think he looks scary in Mario's Madness, or just in general, that stare is just ugh. And these sprites, really well done. His down sprite literally looks like he's tearing open his face. And I'd be kind of silly not to mention this, but he does have a catchphrase, that being, I'm already in your head. And in case you forgot, it takes over the whole background in a bright red color. Thanks, game. Really, this is what I wanted. I honestly think that's his catchphrase because this honestly gives me a headache. The inclusion is really cool, but man, these flashing lights plus all the stuff in the front, ugh. I'm excited to see what Mr. V brings for us in the future, as the games he's been a part of have been promising so far. Let me know down in the comments below if there was any sort of media I missed or if you have anything you want to add. But that's gonna do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay freaky!